We go again. Let's get right into it. Profit by design. We think it just comes, right? Like if we keep clients happy, if we avoid disasters, something might be left over at the end of the month, and maybe, just maybe, you can pay yourself a little something extra. Here's the problem with leftover. It's not a strategy, it's a gamble. That's why so many businesses look successful on the outside, while the owner quietly wonders why it still feels like they're barely breathing. Now, today is not about theory. It's not about cutting costs for the sake of optics. It's about teaching you how to architect profit into the foundation of your business. Not as a wish, but as a requirement. This is step 3 in empowerment design, the financial empowerment and profit architecture. And if you're serious about building a business that creates margin, movement, and freedom, not stress, this is where it all starts. Now we're going to talk about what it actually looks like to design profit. We're going to go beyond charging more, beyond basic bookkeeping skills, and into a full-blown shift in how you see your role as a leader and architect of value. So let's get something straight right now. Profit is not greedy. What you might do with it might be greedy, but profit is responsible. Profit is what lets you breathe. It's what funds your team's raises. It creates room for more generosity, and it protects your time, your creativity, and your longevity as a leader. And if your business isn't designed for profit, then it's unintentionally designed for pressure. That ends today. Let's talk about what happens when you don't design for profit. Because the reality is, most business owners don't make this mistake maliciously. They fall into it very gradually, right? You start by pricing your work based upon what the market's going to bear, or worse, what the competition is doing. You tell yourself, we'll figure it out once we grow. You take whatever jobs come through the door, and you assume that volume will solve bad margins. But before you know it, you're generating revenue, but your profit is unpredictable. In fact, you look at your P&L and see that top line going up, 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 but your personal paycheck stays the same. So you hire to keep up with demand, and every new person just adds stress instead of space. So you launch some new offers, but then they just multiply the complexity of the whole thing. So you feel like you're expanding, but you're not really experiencing relief. In fact, you're more tired than ever. This is what happens when profit is accidental. You're playing the game with no scoreboard. You're saying yes to things that actually break your margin, and you're rewarding growth that creates chaos. Now, here's the worst part. You start believing it's just part of the game, right? This is what it means to actually run a business. This is the price for success. Well, guys, it's not. Profit is the part of your business that tells the truth. Look, you can fake growth, you can fake branding, you can fake team morale. You've probably seen it. I know I have. But you can't fake profit. Profit tells you whether your model actually works. Profit is your business saying, we're not just running, we're actually working. And when you don't have it, everything gets heavier. Hiring becomes scarier. Risk becomes, unbearable. And you start pulling back. Not because you don't believe in your vision, but because your bank account can't support the weight of it. So you start to second guess your decisions. You delay that reinvestment. You carry pressure into your home, into your health, and probably into all your relationships. Now, that's not strategy, that's survival. And survival is not your destiny. You built this business not to live invoice to invoice. You didn't risk everything just to feel strapped all the time and stuck. So that's what brings us to the shift. Now, here's what changes when you stop hoping for profit and start designing it. Everything gets clearer. Your pricing makes sense. Your cash flow, predictable. And your business finally starts paying you, not just keeping you busy. Now, the best part of this, you stop carrying guilt for wanting to earn more, because it's no longer about greed. It's about structure. Now, let's make this really practical. Here's how we build financial empowerment inside empowerment design. First, we break the emotional attachment to guessing. We stop treating pricing like a feel-good exercise or a copy and paste. Remember that guy down the street? Instead, we ask a better set of questions. How much time does this really take? Not just yours, but your whole team's. What tools, materials, admin, revisions are involved in this? How often does it require your oversight, your energy, and your attention? And we add all that up. And then we make it visible, because clarity is the first gate to confidence. You can't lead what you're not going to look at. So next, the second thing, We look at your profit timeline. This is where most business owners really get stuck. Yeah, they're running a profitable business on paper, but they're broke in real life because the timing, it's off. So here's your move. Start collecting 50% up front. Use milestone billing for larger jobs and align payment timing with deliverables. You might even push back supplier payments when possible without damaging the relationship. Now, why would we do this? Because profit isn't just about what you earn, it's about when you get to keep it. And if the cash is always moving out faster than it's moving in, no amount of revenue is ever going to fix that. Now let's go to the next section. Margin. Margin is where profit lives or dies. So stop guessing. Break it down. Which services actually bring the highest margins? Which clients drain time and erode value? And which offerings look successful but silently leak profit every time you deliver them? You have to name it to reclaim it. This isn't theory. We do this live inside the empowerment design system with our clients every day. And the moment we do it, we stop chasing growth that costs more than it gives. We stop underpricing out of fear, and we stop being busy and we start being powerful. And listen, this is the part that I love the most. We don't need fancy software to do this. We literally use sticky notes, Google Sheets, and a whiteboard. We start with what's real. We start with what's visible. We start with what's already happening. And then we document, clean it up, and design from there. One of my favorite client stories comes from a custom cabinet builder named Kyle. Awesome guy, brilliant craftsman, terrible margins. He was doing $1.5 million in revenue, and he was barely paying himself $60K a year. Everything looked good from the outside. Backlog was full, team was growing, but the numbers didn't lie. He was running a 14% gross margin average. For a labor-intensive, high-skill business, that was a recipe for burnout, and we started to see it. So we walked through every single line of his quote process. We timed installs, we costed labor, we tracked waste. Then we rebuilt his pricing from the ground up. Not by charging more just for the sake of it, but by showing the client that he was selling to the cost of quality. And we moved into a 3-phase payment structure. We eliminated all those low-margin customizations that were draining his schedule and his team's morale. So fast forward a year, he was running at a 35% margin and started paying himself $160K a year. Team turnover was way down. In fact, he told me, I feel like the business is actually working for me, not just running me over. I'll never forget that. That's the power of profit by design. It doesn't just show up, it gets built. And when it's built right, it becomes the foundation that lets you say yes to what matters without fear. Now, let's go even deeper. One of the reasons why profit feels elusive isn't because you're ignoring it. It's because your business was built in survival mode. And survival conditions never prioritize margin, they prioritize movement. That mindset doesn't evaporate once the business grows. It stays. It seeps into how you price, how you hire, and how you chase the opportunities. Profit by design requires a full mindset shift from motion to measurement. Let me say this again. You don't need to do more work. You need to do the work that matters and measure whether it's delivering the return you need to keep building something. One of our clients, a multi-service firm in Utah, they looked like they were doing everything right. They had steady leads, team buy-in, impressive revenue, things that everybody wants. But cash felt constantly tight, and the owner was second-guessing every single move, hesitant to hire, reluctant to raise prices, and constantly worried about payroll. When we did the math, they were undercharging their top 3 services by over 20% and bleeding through minor delivery gaps and outdated costs that they never updated. They were discounting way too quickly, and they were trying to compete with providers who didn't even offer the same value. So once we rebuilt our offer structure and introduced a margin-first quoting system, the numbers flipped. Suddenly, each client brought in more value without more effort. And they stopped apologizing for profit. They started to expect it. Now, let's talk about cash flow really fast. This is the heartbeat of profit, and it's often the most ignored. Too many owners don't know what their money is actually doing. They just know whether they're stressed out about it or not. That's not power. That's panic in super slow motion. So here's what we do inside Empowerment Design. We look at it weekly. We build what we call a cash confidence analysis. It's simple. What came in this week? What went out? And what margin did we actually keep? We track it. We analyze it. We learn, and then we lead from it. Because what you don't measure, you're never going to master. And we don't stop there. We look at offer structure. We do a profitability audit. We dissect time, cost, emotional cost, leadership drag. Because profit isn't just about what you bill. It's about what you keep after everything else is said and done. We also help you shift your role in the financial rhythm. You stop being the person who just hopes it will all work, and you become the person who actually designs it to work. That's the difference between a founder that's just trying to survive and a builder who's creating freedom. Now that's what this step is really about. Designing a business that produces profit without relying on heroics. A business that protects your calendar, that fuels your team's confidence, that unlocks the generosity, time off, risk-taking, and long-term vision that we all want. Now that's what financial empowerment actually feels like. And if you've never felt it before, today is your day and this is the moment. Because once you feel it, you're never going to want to go backwards. Now let me say it again. If profit isn't planned, it's accidental. And no legacy has ever been built on accident. So if you want to build a business that lasts, a business that funds your real life, a business that doesn't run on your energy alone, you've got to have this system. This is exactly what we build inside Empowerment Design. Profit isn't a mystery. It's not magic. It's a function of structure, clarity, and courage. Now, I'll help you do it. If you're ready to stop playing guessing games with your margins, if you're tired of feeling like growth just means more work for you, if you're done wondering when you'll finally feel the win in your wallet, DM me the word profit. I'll send you the profit design breakdown, the same tool we use inside ISTS to turn financial fog into real focus. Now, let this moment be the time when your business starts building wealth, not just more work. And let's build what lasts together. Now come back next week because on Tuesday, we're going to start talking about the thing that no one really wants to talk about, but everyone knows we need. And yes, I'm talking to you, Cody and Cache Valley. We're going to start talking about culture. We're going to talk about how to design culture for good instead of dealing with bad culture. You don't want to miss this. So I'll see you back here, same time, Tuesday, same place, all new content. Don't miss it. Can't wait to see you then.